On December 13, 1943, at 9:27 a.m., Second Lieutenant Philip Adair, flying his Curtiss P-40N Warhawk, nicknamed Lulu Bell, found himself climbing over Assam, India. He was confronted by 64 Japanese aircraft, appearing through the morning haze. This formidable formation was heading directly for his base at Denjan Airfield. Adair, a 23-year-old pilot with 43 combat missions protecting the Hump airlift, was the only pilot airborne at that crucial moment. The Japanese formation included 24 Mitsubishi Ki-21 Sally bombers, escorted by around 40 Nakajima Ki-43 Oscar fighters. Past raids had destroyed 47 Allied transport aircraft and killed 112 personnel on the ground in northeast India. Below Adair, Denjan Airfield housed 14 C-47 transports loaded with supplies for Chiang Kai-shek's forces in China, a field hospital, and fuel stocks essential for Hump operations for 11 days. An unopposed bombing run would cripple Allied supply operations over the Himalayas for weeks. Standard doctrine advised waiting for reinforcements when outnumbered more than 5-1. Adair faced 64-1 odds. The nearest friendly fighters were 38 minutes away. He had a choice: shadow the formation and wait for support, knowing the bombs would fall before they arrived, or attack alone to disrupt the bombing run. Adair chose to attack. Adair accelerated his P-40 to 320 miles per hour and positioned himself 4,000 feet above the Japanese formation, approaching from the south with the sun at his back. Crucially, the Oscar escorts hadn't spotted him, focused instead on the target. His plan was simple: hit the lead bomber formation first, ignoring the fighters initially, to shatter their bombing accuracy and force them to abort the run. The lead group of Sally bombers flew in a tight V formation of 6 aircraft. Adair rolled inverted and dove at the bombers from their 7 o'clock high position, rapidly building speed. At 800 yards, he opened fire with his 6.50 caliber Browning machine guns. Rounds struck the lead bomber's left wing, and its port engine erupted in flame. The Japanese formation immediately broke, dissolving their tight V into chaos. Adair pulled up hard, enduring 7 Gs as 40 Oscar fighters dove toward him. The Nakajima Ki-43 Oscar was highly maneuverable, capable of tighter turning circles than any American fighter, a factor ruthlessly exploited by its pilots. Adair's P-40N was faster in a straight line, with a maximum speed of 378 miles per hour, but it couldn't match the Oscar's turn rate. Standard P-40 tactics against Oscars was to use speed, hit, and run, never engaging in a turning fight. However, Adair couldn't run. He had to keep the bombers scattered and prevent them from reforming their attack. The first 4 Oscars attacked from Adair's 10 o'clock high. He maneuvered, fired short bursts, but missed. Meanwhile, the Sally bombers were attempting to reform into 3 groups. He estimated he had perhaps 90 seconds before they reached their release point over Denjan. He dove toward the bombers again, accelerating to 405 miles per hour, which the Oscars couldn't match. He lined up on the right-hand Sally formation and fired at 300 yards. The lead bomber's right engine exploded. Its wingman broke formation. Adair skidded left and fired at another Sally. The obsolete Ki-21, designed in 1936, lacked armor or self-sealing fuel tanks. Despite this, it could still carry enough bombs to destroy Denjan Airfield. Now 12 Oscars were closing in. The bombers were only 19 miles from Denjan, and Adair had about 4 minutes until they reached drop range. Then, his Allison V-1710 engine began overheating. Running at combat power for 11 minutes had pushed the liquid-cooled engine temperature far above the normal 210 degrees Fahrenheit. At 250 degrees, failure would begin. Adair had to reduce power, abandon the attack, or risk engine failure. With the Sally still a threat, he kept the throttle forward. 2 Oscars attacked head-on. He fired back. His heavier .50 caliber rounds, carrying more energy, hit the left Oscar's engine cowling. The lightweight fighter broke away, trailing coolant vapor. Adair dodged, but his coolant temperature hit 240 degrees Fahrenheit. 2 bomber formations of 6 aircraft each had reformed. Adair went for the lead formation again, diving past 6 intercepting Oscars at 390 miles per hour. He opened fire on the lead Sally. His burst hit the wing root, the structure failed, and the wing tore away. The bomber spun down, the crew unable to bail out. The formation shattered. Their bombing accuracy was destroyed. Even if they dropped their ordnance now, it would scatter across miles of jungle. Pulling up hard, Adair's coolant temperature hit 258 degrees Fahrenheit. The engine was running rough. He could feel the vibration. Detonation from excessive heat was starting. If he didn't reduce power, the engine would seize. 8 Oscars dove on him. He saw them too late. Enemy 7.7mm rounds tore through his right wing and fuselage. One round severed the right aileron control rod. Another penetrated the coolant reservoir. Green coolant sprayed his windscreen. The temperature gauge shot past 260 degrees. Steam erupted from the cowling. Oil pressure dropped, and the Allison was dying. Adair chopped the throttle, and the P-40 began descending. Then the engine caught fire. The standard procedure was immediate bailout, but Adair was only 8,000 feet, descending rapidly, 12 miles over hostile territory. He kept the engine running. He pulled the fuel mixture control back to idle cutoff for 3 seconds, starving the engine of fuel. The fire lessened. He pushed the mixture forward, and the engine caught again, running rough at approximately 60% power, barely enough to maintain level flight. The Sally bombers, their formations disintegrated, were heading away toward Burma. The raid was broken. The airfield was safe. Adair turned toward his base at Nguli, 43 miles away. 6 Oscars followed him, watching him descend as his engine's oil pressure dropped to 0. The Allison was running on momentum and friction. At 6,000 feet, smoke filled the cockpit, this time from damaged electrical wiring. Adair slid the canopy open, enduring the wind blast. The Oscars backed off, anticipating he would crash. At 4,000 feet, his right aileron control cable snapped. The P-40 rolled right and the nose dropped into a dive. The elevator cables were also damaged, leaving him with no pitch control. He was going to crash. At 1,800 feet, he had a desperate idea. The damaged aileron and stuck elevator were forcing the aircraft into an uncontrolled dive right side up. If he flew inverted, the aerodynamic forces would reverse. The damaged aileron would force the right wing up, and the nose-down elevator trim would push the tail down, lifting the nose. Adair rolled the P-40 completely inverted. The nose came up, and the descent slowed. At 1,200 feet, the P-40 leveled out, flying upside down at 140 miles per hour. He was slowly climbing. The fuel system, designed for positive G loads, struggled to feed the engine inverted. The engine sputtered. He had to roll upright to let the fuel feed, then roll inverted again to climb. Upside down to climb, right side up to descend. The 6 circling Oscars watched this impossible display. They decided not to engage and turned back toward Burma. Adair continued his rolling climb toward Nguli. His engine, running without oil pressure for 9 minutes, defied mechanical logic. At 5,000 feet, he spotted Neguli Airfield. A new problem arose. His hydraulic landing gear system ran on engine power, and the engine was producing minimal output. Lowering the gear manually required 28 strokes of a hand pump. He couldn't release the control stick to use both hands. His solution, he wrapped his lap belt around the control stick, securing it to the seat frame. This makeshift rig held the stick in an approximate neutral position. He used both hands on the pump. After 28 strokes, the landing gear extended and locked. The increased drag dropped his airspeed to 135 miles per hour. With the engine producing perhaps 40% power and his vision tunneling from carbon monoxide poisoning, Adair was 2 miles from the runway when his engine quit. The P-40 became a glider. With battle damage and high drag from the extended gear, his glide ratio was poor. He was going to crash short of the runway. Then he remembered a note from training. An inverted glide at specific angles of attack could generate less drag and extend range. With nothing to lose, he rolled inverted at 1,800 feet. The inverted glide, despite the extended gear, was better, with a descent rate of 500 feet per minute. The tower operators and ground crew at Neguli were confused, seeing an inverted P-40 with gear down. A crew chief, Technical Sergeant Roberto Martinez, suspected a Japanese pilot and ran to a machine gun position. Adair, at 400 feet, had perhaps 20 seconds of consciousness left due to the carbon monoxide and negative G-forces. At 200 feet and 300 yards from the runway threshold, Adair rolled right side up. The damaged controls fought him, but he fought back, forcing the wings level. Martinez held fire. The P-40 crossed the threshold at 90 feet, dropping fast. The main wheels hit hard, a 7G impact. The right main gear collapsed. The aircraft ground-looped, spinning 180 degrees and skidded to a stop. Fire crews raced toward the wreck. After a moment of stillness, Adair climbed out of the cockpit. The Allison engine was destroyed, pistons seized, crankshaft warped, and connecting rods welded. The aircraft had 16 bullet holes in the fuselage, 7 in the right wing and 4 in the left. Lulu Bell would never fly again. But Philip Adair had saved Denjan Airfield. Intelligence confirmed all 24 Sally bombers turned back without dropping their ordnance. 0 bombs hit Allied facilities. 0 casualties on the ground. The Hump airlift continued without interruption. Flight surgeons later determined Adair was flying with severe carbon monoxide poisoning for the final 11 minutes of the flight, an impairment level that should have rendered him unconscious. On January 8, 1944, Second Lieutenant Philip Adair was awarded the Silver Star for gallantry in action. He continued to fly, achieving A status with 5 confirmed kills. He retired as a full colonel in 1971. His solution to damaged controls, flying alternately inverted and upright, and his inverted landing approach with gear extended defied every flying procedure. This rugged Curtiss fighter, in the hands of a determined pilot like Philip Adair, proved that impossible odds mean nothing when someone refuses to quit.